So, Kalispera, σας ευχαριστώ που είστε εδώ. That's all the Greek words that I know. Unfortunately, the Greek is one of the ancient languages, and it's really difficult to speak. So I will speak English because the language that I know. Today I'm gonna talk about the synchronized security, which is the combination of the endpoint, of the UTM, of the firewall, and that are talking together and exchanging the information. So each of the products is having an unique way of looking at the network, at what is going on in it. We all remember all the good products such as a firewall, such as application control, network access control. These components were really good, but the one thing that they all have in common was that they were looking at only one point in the network. So they were having kind of a two-dimensional view, not the top-down view, so they could see everything that was going on in the network. So there you see those old people from the really prehistoric ages and ancient time, because this is what nowadays the bad guys are doing. So imagine how you are configuring the firewall in your network. You usually allow port 80 or 443 to get in and out, because this is what usually these are the services that the people are using. But the bad guys, and so they are also using the same. So if they know that port 80 is open, they manufacture a malware or an application that is using that port 80 in order to get access to your corporate network. That's why we need to change our way of looking at the network and of what is going on there. So first of all, we have to have a look at the expanding surface. So nowadays we cannot talk anymore about just the computers or just the servers, because nowadays everybody is having a smartphone, everybody is having a tablet, and we are working on them as on if a computers like 10 or 15 years ago. The same thing happens if we are talking about the perimeter. So like 10 years back in time, we were all having a firewall, which was just protecting the network from getting access into the internet. But nowadays, we cannot say anymore that the firewall will be protecting our internal network, because we are using the smartphones, we are using the laptops everywhere. Like in a hotel, on a train, in a car, everybody here is having a smartphone, and I already seen most of you doing something on it, and I believe this is not texting your wife, it is something more that is accessing the internet or even the corporate network documents or files. The next thing is that also the people that are developing malware and that are producing the attacks, they are also developing. So this is not only us who are evolving, this is not only us who are thinking of a new ways of working, of getting access to the corporate information or to the internet, but also these people are working on how to get into the corporate network and how to steal the data. And finally, there is a risk awareness which is growing. I'm pretty sure that everybody in that room heard about Sony that lost their customers' data. So we are all aware that if something bad happens into the corporate network, to the company, all this information will be revealed publicly, and everybody will know that there was a data breach. That's why it's time for a revolution. That's why we need to change our point of view and the point of looking of what is going on. So if we go back to that 10 years ago times, I'm pretty sure you all remember network access control that was using that protocol AO2.1x for keeping bad guys apart from the internal network. And that was a really good product, but that was a point product. So in order to protect the whole network, people were using like antivirus, IPS, firewall, all these components. So then it moved to another era where all the vendors they finally thought, okay, so the people need like a bunch of different products in order to protect the whole network. So the vendors started to selling bundles, suites, like UTMs, because the UTM is doing all-in-one. But again, these were just separate products that should be working together, but actually they were not working together because they were still separate. That's why now we looked back at what was going on, and we find out that the network access control was really a good thing. It was simply too complicated for most of the companies to be really implemented. But the threats, they are not choosing whether the company is a small or a big one. For the threats, everybody is equal. But for you, it's really important whether you have 1 or 10 people in your IT department, and whether these people can spend a week on configuring a network access control, or maybe 1 hour on configuring something new. That's why we have introduced the synchronized security, which is said to be simple and which is connecting many elements of working in the network. What we understand under the synchronized security is a comprehensive protection that is available for many different platforms, that is talking to one another, that is able not only as it used to be in the past to find out the malware, the viruses, it is also about detecting the compromises, remediating the threats, and also investigating issues. And what we should all care about, and the endpoint should be also taking care of it, is the data, because the data has the value. So the new endpoint should be also able to encrypt the data that are very valuable to the corporate network. This should be like the integration of the different layers. So what we had before is already shadowed, but now we should look into the future. So there should be a combination of the end user, of network, and the management that are all talking together, that were all exchanging the information. So the integrated security should be offering unified management of endpoint and the network. And that leads us to a security heartbeat, which is something that we have invented and that is responding to all those needs that we currently have. You remember when I mentioned NAC 802.1x standard that was difficult to configure, that not everybody was able to do it. So now we thought, okay, that was a good solution, but it was too difficult. So now we have implemented a traffic light concept. So we have a green, yellow, and red light, which is really easy, and nobody has to be a CISSP in order to understand this. This is like easy even for children from a kindergarten. So the green obviously will mean that everything is okay in the network, that all the endpoints are connecting to the internal resources, that they can have access to the external resources, that everything is fine. Now we have the yellow color, which means a warning. So the yellow might be, for instance, a potentially unwanted application found on an endpoint. What is a potentially unwanted application? So do you ever use a PS-kill software? So this is a really good tool for all of the administrators, because it allows you to kill the processes not only locally but also remotely. But do you believe that this software should be installed on a standard end-user computer? Because I don't. And the endpoint also believes that the software that is designed for the administrator shouldn't be installed on the end user's computers. And therefore, the administrator will see the yellow light. It means that there is a warning, but he or she can take care of it later in the afternoon. It's not something that has to be taken immediately. And finally, we got to the red. Red, of course, means something bad, and it requires an immediate action. So actually, we have two reds. So the first red will be when there is really something bad going on an endpoint, and none of the automated processes can get rid of it and can solve it. So the administrator help is needed. And the second threat is simply a heart attack, because we are talking about the heartbeat, so there is a heart attack when the heartbeat is killed. It may happen when there is a really dangerous malware on a PC which was able to disable the heartbeat, and then we will get the red light. All right, so how it really works? What is that heartbeat? So the heartbeat is the information that is being sent from the endpoint to the firewall, to the UTM, and all that information and being also synchronized together with a Sophos management console that is being available directly from the Sophos cloud. How it works? So first of all, we have an endpoint, we have a firewall. Both of these will register to the cloud. They will exchange the certificates and they will assign the certificates. Then the endpoint will establish a connection to the firewall. And once the connection is being established, then there will be a validation process. So both endpoint and firewall will ask and will check in the cloud whether the connection is correct and whether everything is being working fine. Then the heartbeat will be sending every 15 seconds information to the firewall about all the discovered computers, about malware, about applications, about what is going on there. So every 15 seconds there will be just a few bytes of information being sent to the firewall. And of course the status will be also there. So let's have a look what we have now. So on the left side of this slide, you can see the endpoint, which is, you see, it's not an antivirus engine. There is a lot of things in it, so like application control, live protection, emulator, and other stuff. And on the right-hand side, we have a firewall operating system, which is the next generation UTM. They both are speaking using the heartbeat, and we have a console in the cloud. So now imagine that the computer is going outside and is trying to connect. There is a malware, and that malware is trying to get to the server in the internet, and that server is a control and command server responsible for one of the botnets. Then automatically the firewall will notice that the traffic is the bad traffic going somewhere outside. It will notify the Sophos cloud. The Sophos cloud will now trigger the firewall to isolate that computer from the rest of the network, so all other computers are being safe. Then at the endpoint itself will try to remove the malware, or at least to block it. And finally, because we are talking about the endpoint, we will know which processes were generating that traffic, so all other computers that are having the same software will be also cleared. But this is not enough, because now we can imagine that in the future there will be some encryption needed. So we have a really same scenario, but we have improved threat protection that will come. So we again have the endpoint, we have a Sophos firewall operating system, and the same computer that is trying to connect to the control and command center. He's sending the traffic, but now immediately the system protector is notifying through the security heartbeat the firewall operating system. And now the console knows about it. The firewall is locking down the whole network access. And the other thing that is going on, we will remove the file encryption keys from that endpoint. So imagine that the computer that is trying to connect to the control and command center is a CAO computer, or this computer belongs to an engineer who has a really important project on it. So in order to make sure that no data is leaving the company, that no data is being stolen, we will remove the key encryption key automatically to make sure that all the data is safe. Then obviously we will remove the malware and remove it from all other computers that are having the same malware and are found in the network. So most of you will ask, okay, I would like to see it working, I would like to see how it works in life. the answer is really simple. If you don't have any Sophos products yet, you just have to go to sophos.com/cloud. You just have to register. You just give your email address and name and the surname. Then you download a 30-day trial. You have access to the Sophos cloud and you have access to the Sophos firewall, so you can try the heartbeat on your own devices. If you have any of our products already, you just need to have, as I said, the cloud and XG series hardware. So then you can see what are the upgrading path for that. Well, I'm leaving the decision up to you whether you would like to try Sophos or not. At the end, I would like to show you that Sophos is a really the best positioned vendor in the market. I'm saying the best position because we are having half-half. So we are having half of the products that are doing the endpoint and the other half that is doing the firewall, the networking. But it also means that we have the same amount of the people working on the endpoint part and on the UTM part. And there is no other vendor in the security, in the networking space that is having the same unique balance of their resources and of their needs. So basically this is all for me. Σας ευχαριστώ and have a nice afternoon.